Transgender people in Utah are now restricted from using gender-specific public spaces like bathrooms and changing rooms that do not correspond to their legal gender, thanks to a new bill signed by Governor Spencer Cox. But questions remain about how the law will be enforced and how the new legal code will impact Utah's transgender community. So here's what's in the code and what it means for Utahns. Broadly speaking, the law hinges upon a series of new legal definitions of male and female. It categorizes sex by reproductive organs, meaning a female is legally defined as someone who, by birth, has female reproductive organs. Gender identity has no impact on these legal definitions, and they are used to say who can and cannot be in certain sex-specific spaces. The law states that when it comes to government-owned or government-controlled buildings, people can only use changing rooms, locker rooms, showers, and dressing rooms that correspond to their legal definition of sex. For instance, folks assigned female at birth are now required to use female rooms, no matter how they present their gender. Now, there are exemptions for people who have legally changed their birth certificate, which is something that isn't even possible in 5 states, or people who have had bottom surgery, a costly and invasive procedure. Now, this bill also applies to bathrooms, stating that people can only use the space that corresponds with their legally defined sex, though it does not explicitly say that it's criminal for transgender folks to use different spaces. Now, this law applies to government-owned or government-controlled facilities, meaning a state or local government has at least partial ownership of the building, or a government entity is overseeing a program or event in that space. Within public schools, including state colleges and universities, students can only access restrooms, locker rooms, and dressing rooms if it corresponds to their legal definition of sex. Other buildings include libraries, public pools, recreation centers, courthouses, and some music venues and sports arenas. Now, because the Salt Lake International Airport is owned by Salt Lake City, all the restrictions also apply there, meaning people must use the bathrooms that correspond to their state legal definition of sex. So what happens legally if someone uses a room that doesn't match their assigned sex at birth? Now, the law states that a person could be charged with criminal trespass if they use either a changing room or a bathroom that doesn't meet their legal definition of sex. Criminal trespass is a Class B misdemeanor, which can come with 6 months of jail time. It can be upgraded to a Class A misdemeanor, doubling the potential jail time if the person is also committing lewdness, voyeurism, or is loitering. Now, while behaviors like lewdness and voyeurism are already criminal, an individual who is accused of committing them while in a changing room or a restroom that doesn't align with their sex assigned at birth will face a higher penalty than someone who did it elsewhere. It will become a third-degree felony and include up to 5 years in prison. So how will this law be enforced? Now, government entities must report to police all complaints or allegations that someone is violating the law, although that obligation is removed when addressing student behavior. The law also requires the state auditor to establish a process to receive complaints about government entities that are not enforcing the law and to investigate those complaints. Now, this law went into effect the moment Governor Cox signed the bill, although government entities have until May 1st to comply.